He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl!
Welcome to Patriots Touchback Podcast.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome on to another edition here of the Patriots Touchback Podcast. We are in episode 5 of season 2. It's me, your host, Carl. I am joined, as always, by Nick, JD, and Kieran. We are back for another show to talk about the brutal schedule that has been thrown upon us, and of course, recapping OTAs. And a good question one of our panels has brought up in the chat, which basically is, what receivers are we going to be taking for the regular season? Before we get cracking with the show, make sure you smash the like button, you hit the subscribe button, follow us on all our social media platforms, and you follow us on the Sports Social Network as well. Gentlemen, how are we this evening?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
All good.
I don't think I've been on since pre-draft. So it seems like a lot has happened since then. Obviously, we've had the draft. I've had a little holiday to Croatia. Ipswich now in the Premier League, so things are going really good.
Which is probably why
I had a great weekend. A great weekend.
I'm sure you did.
Can we
Sorry,
keep
Carl.
that? Can we keep that part? Can we keep that shaped round football out of this freaking
I
conversation,
apologize.
please? This is American football show. Let's not go into soccer, shall we say? Okay, gentlemen. So the schedule got released last week, literally 24 hours after we went live last week, which is always annoying. And we were deemed to probably have the second hardest schedule in the NFL this year. And by the looks of it, when I bring this up, it definitely is. Let's start off a game by game, okay? Because we go through this all, we'll just get confusing. So, our first game, September 8th, away to Cincinnati, facing Joe Burrow, facing Jamar Chase, could be potentially facing T. Higgins if, he signed a contract by them. I'm not 100% sure yet. But trial by fire for our first game on the road to the Bengals. Nick, what's your what do you think of Cincinnati? Because last year without Joe Burrow, they were just useless. They're going to come back, but I will throw this caveat in there. Cincinnati don't start very well in the first week of regular season games. They don't start that well. So could this potentially be a banana skin for Cincinnati when they face us?
You literally stole my line. I was going to say Cincinnati aren't great starters, so it's if you're going to play the Bengals, you really want to play them in sort of week 1, week 2. I do think that going to Cincinnati is a lot more difficult than them coming to us just because of home comforts. I don't think we're going to win that one. I don't expect us to win that one, but that could be one where if the Bengals aren't switched on when they start the season, you might get lucky. But I think you have to put that when you look at the quality that they've got, I think you have to say, if you don't win that one, it's not a disaster. If you get anything from it, great, brilliant. But if you don't win it, I don't think it's a disaster. I don't think it's panic stations. We've lost game 1.
No, I agree with you on that one. I could just safely say this is either going to be an absolute busting where we're not going to be ready for this, or Cincy could come in extremely cold. And as I said, this has the makings of a trap game. Everyone looks on their week 1 schedule to find out, right, teams who are going to win, they're going to win. There is always one fixture where the home team is facing we're the bang average team. We're the bang average team facing Cincinnati here. It's going to be something like we're going to be something like 5-6-1 to win that game. And that's probably could end up being one of the fixtures in that week 1 schedule that blows up your accumulator.
Yeah, I mean,
potentially. This is copium I'm drinking here, so but
Yeah. I mean, I don't think if the Bengals win, I don't think they'll win by a mile. I think it'll be close. I don't think we're going to come. I think Mayo first game. I think he's going to have the team ready. I think if we don't win that game, we won't be blown out. It will, it might be a one score game till sort of time at the end, but I don't see us being blown out in that game, even if we do lose. But like you said, we might get lucky. It might be one of those where Bengals just aren't on it for the start, and we'll see what happens. But time will tell.
I think the Vegas line is like 8.5 in terms of the points. I could see us covering the points, like you said, Nick. And whether we win the game, I don't know. I think it's optimistic to say that. I mean, we've got to hang our hat on potentially Cincinnati not showing up like they normally don't early in the season. And I think it'll probably take a defensive masterclass if we're going to win this game. But I certainly think we'll cover the point spread. I can't see us getting beaten by a heavy total. So I think 8.5, like, that seems quite generous.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's somewhat, I think, especially early in the season, I think a lot of our games might be a bit of a kind of race to 20. And if a team can get to 20, 24 points, I just don't necessarily see us being able to put up enough points to kind of win those kind of games. I think, like Kieran kind of says, they're a defensive masterclass, and hope that Joe Burrow's typical slow starts to the season continue. And perhaps we can eke out a road win. Again, I see the Bengals as being one of the favourites to kind of do it all in the AFC if Joe Burrow can stay healthy. So, I mean, on paper, I don't think it's a game we should win. But there's a lot of football to go on between now and then before we actually start who's going to be the starting quarterback, who's going to make the roster, which we'll discuss later.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's go around the hall. We'll go through each game and then we'll make your predictions. So, Nick, what would you go with? Do you think? I know it's too early to predict, but just put your thinking hat on here and just say, do you think we'll get a win? Do you think we'll lose? What would you say?
I've got that down as a loss.
Yeah, me too.
Yep, same.
Okay, so we'll get losses on that one. I think we could maybe pinch it, but never know. DJ's picked a loss on that one as well. He's just put massive L. He's put massive L. Okay, so moving to our first game. At home to the Seattle Seahawks. A very different Seattle Seahawks, to say the least. I haven't read into them too much, if I'm brutally honest with you. They're a sort of team that's sitting in the NFC West right now. The 49ers are head and shoulders above everybody else. The Rams are getting back to what they used to be. And the Cardinals, let's see if they get a tune out of Kyler Murray. I always think Seattle's like the odd one out here. But they're a very competitive team and they play hard to win. And also Pete Carroll's not there anymore. He's not the coach anymore. So this is going to be a very different Seattle team we're going to be playing in recent past. JD, we'll start with you. What's your thoughts on the week 2 game against Seattle?
I think Seattle are an interesting offense. And interestingly, I had this down as I am not necessarily steadfast and optimistic in this prediction, but I think we could eke out a win here. I think in our first 6 games, this might be our best opportunity for a win. And I think either this or Miami, but we've got Miami at home, so typically we don't go down to Miami and play very well. We usually lose there, but at home we tend to do okay against them. I think those 2 games are our best opportunities for a win. The other games, I just don't necessarily see us having the talent to stack up. I think with a new head coach, they're in a similar position to us. I don't necessarily trust Gino to think that he can potentially, if you're going up against Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, those kind of things, I think they've just got, a class above what we've got, and that's difficult. I don't think Gino's in that category. I think they've got a very vertical offense, which I think plays into our strengths defensively, in that I think having Gonzalez and a decent safety group, I think we might be able to handle their offense a little better than we would some others. And I think this might be a 1-1 start for the Patriots.
Okay, so you got the win there. DJ's for a win there. Kieran, what about you?
Yeah, looking at the first 6 fixtures, I tend to agree that this is probably where I see the win being the most likely place. First home game, obviously, that's going to be important in terms of the fan base getting behind the new regime. I think while Seattle have talent on offense, they're not the finished picture yet. Yes, they've got a nice running back and a couple of good receivers, but like they're far from elite at QB, and I can see defensively us being able to take advantage of that, as Johnny said. I think this will be a low-scoring game because I think Seattle are going to pivot to a more defensive system. Mike McDonald's obviously done a great job with Baltimore. They're going to obviously run that defensive scheme that's becoming very popular. I've seen a few suggestions they want to try and get back to Legion of Boom days and how they run their team. So I can imagine this being a low-scoring defensive game that we could probably just about edge.
Okay, so you got the W there. Fair enough. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it as you opened up this fixture. This is not Pete Carroll versus Bill Belichick. This is 2 new coaches, both trying to put their print down on their own team. McDonald's taken down all of Pete Carroll's all the artwork and the Super Bowl pictures and everything in the facility has all been taken down. He said new regime, new start. So, pictures of the Legion of Boom and all that, they've all gone. So, I think I've got this down as a maybe, and I just think it could just quite simply swing on who's got possession last. It's one of these games that I think could genuinely go either way. So, if the majority of the group is a win, then I'm certainly not going to go against that. But if I'm literally, it could go either way. I think it'd be entertaining.
I think it'd be entertaining.
Sorry, go on. I was an interesting
JD.
caveat to think about is that Mike McDonald's defensive scheme is kind of an offshoot of Dean Pease kind of scheme that he ran and Rex Ryan. And I'm pretty confident that Jerome Mayo was played under Dean Pease when he was at the Patriots. So it could be that we have a bit of a hands-on experience of understanding how to handle that kind of defense, which may give our offense a bit of a boost in that game as well.
Okay, I think we've all gone for wins there for the second game. Okay, then after that, we got back-to-back road games. First, starting off with one of our divisional rivals. We refer to them as the doormat, really, of the AFC East, and that is, of course, the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers will be back. They have a new left tackle. The Jets defense, if anything, is the Jets defense is nothing like last year. They're going to be a hard team to stop. If that offensive line can keep Rodgers on his feet, then that could potentially be a massive issue for us. Kieran, we'll start with you. On the road to the Jets.
I want to be optimistic. Obviously, we've got to be realistic in a way and say that, the Jets do have a very deep and talented roster. And it's going to be tricky going there earlier in the season on the road. But we have had our way with them for so long. So is it out of the realms of possibility? No, absolutely not. I think it will be a close game. Definitely. I can't see them blowing us out. At the end of the day, you can polish a turd. It's still a turd. This is in the maybe category for me. I don't fear them as much as other people because I've just had too much exposure to what the Jets can be like. Even with Aaron Rodgers, I could see us sneaking it, but I don't know. It's a coin flip for me. I find it tricky.
You can only go win or loss. You can't go, or you could go a tie, but
yeah, I could do. Do you know what? I'm going to say loss, but I'm going to say overtime loss. If I can say that.
So moral victory. Oh,
yeah, I can see this being. I can see this going down to the wire. Yeah.
Okay. JD, what about you?
I think I have loss, but that depends if Aaron Rodgers and Tyron Smith make it to week 3, which, given both their histories, is not a guarantee. I think offensively, I don't, even with Rodgers, and if Tyron Smith is healthy, they've obviously drafted Oliver Fashanu, so they've got that backup, but I don't think they necessarily scare me massively. Obviously, Garrett Wilson is unbelievable, and Breece Hall looks great. But the thing that terrifies me about the Jets is a short week that we're going to have here, because this is a Thursday night game. So we're coming off the Sunday game straight into Thursday. And we're going to the Jets, and we've got our offensive line, which we've all discussed in the draft process has been an area of concern that perhaps we didn't address as much as we would like in the draft and in free agency. But we've got to face a starting front 4 of Jermaine Johnson, Javon Kinlaw, Quinnen Williams, and Hassan Reddick. And then they've got Will McDonald, their second year outside linebacker defensive end, that's going to be playing there as well, which against our offensive line terrifies me, which is an area in which I don't think we match up with the Jets well at all. And just hoping at this point, if we are starting Jacoby Brissett, that Drake May might want to get warmed up, because it might be a heavy day for whoever's starting at QB in that one.
We might be in earlier than we think. Nick, what about you? Do you have optimism against the Jets, or do you have the same reasons as JD, feeling a little worried?
I mean, this game is a second maybe for me. I did put it down as a maybe, but listening to these two, we're a Patriots podcast, and the two people who just got in front of me have just put us down for losses. I can't have that. So, you know what? I'm going to stick my head above the parapet, and I'm going to say we win that game. I don't like losing to the Jets. I'd have rather beat the Jets at the end of last year and cost us a one spot down in the draft if need be, because I don't like losing to the Jets. So even though I've got it down as a maybe, for the fact that there's 2 losses in this group already, I'm going on a win. So,
do you know what? Yeah, no, I agree with with your sentiment, Nick, because at the end of the day, it's the
yes,
it's the
correct.
Jets. Okay, so yeah, I've got
we'll let these 2 newbies off because they're new, but we can't go picking the Jets.
I like to think of it less as a Jets win and a Patriots loss. I don't want to give the Jets a win.
I'm not letting you off the hook that much. You're still worrying my StreamYard fee. Anyway. Okay, let's move to week 4, because we are 18 minutes in now, so we've got to start moving. Week 4, on the road to the San Francisco 49ers. At the end, I'm going to start off with this, and this is a straightforward loss. I am looking forward to trying to get a really high-profile guest on for that week 4 prediction show, because I know I've got a lot of contacts who are 49ers based. I've gone for loss. That team they're like the Golden State Warriors back with their dynasty.
Yeah.
They've just got talent everywhere. Even their quarterback, Brock Purdy, who is Mr. Irrelevant, even he's pretty good. So I can't do anything about that.
Pick your poison with them as well, isn't it? Because who do you focus your attention on? Because they'll just hurt you in a way.
If you focus on Debo and Ayuk, good luck. George Kittle will just be out there and down the seam. If you want to try and concentrate on Christian McCaffrey, good luck. If you forget the running game, McCaffrey's just going to absolutely destroy you after the catch. That's his bread and butter. And their defense is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So, JD, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think in an effort to get to bed early and save some time on the podcast runtime, this is probably going to be a loss. I think the biggest thing we can hope for, similarly to the Jets game, is that in this case, Debo and Trent Williams go down at some point and their injury history reels back up. They weren't the same when they lost those 2 last year, but I think if they're anything close to healthy, I don't see us having the horses to compete here.
The horses will get literally shot out of the cannons. Nick?
I've got a loss. Yeah, I'll like you, I've got San Francisco 49ers fans in my close circle. And I've got a feeling one of them's watching right now, so I'm not going to give the benefit of gloating. So I'm just going to put it down as a loss.
Okay, that's a loss there. Kieran?
Yes, probably the most obvious loss on the calendar for me. Just I would be absolutely floored if we went there and got a win.
Okay, so the currently stand after 4 weeks. Me, Nick, and DJ are sitting on 2 and 2, whereas the two newbies are sitting on 1 and 3. If we're 2 and 2 after week 4, I'll have a little bit more optimism going into the rest of the season, because that means, we're not as bad as everybody thinks we are. Okay, back-to-back home games we've got. So, home to the Dolphins on October 6th. We're playing them in week 5. It's not exactly cold in Foxborough when it's still beginning of October. The Dolphins are just a strange team. We always seem to get bogged down by them. And we lost by a small number. We lost by less than a touchdown against the Dolphins. I think it was in week 2 last year. When I think it was Gonzalez literally shut down Tyreek Hill. Literally the only corner I've ever known that can actually shut down Tyreek Hill. So that we're going to see that one-on-one matchup.
We opened last year with the Eagles and the Dolphins, and we lost both, but we lost both really close, both close games that we played really well in. So, save the time. I've got us down for a loss. So stick me down for a loss.
All right, fair enough. Then, Kieran?
Do you know what? As much as I could see us losing the game, I'm gonna have us down for a win here. I know back in the day we'd normally kind of alternate with Miami, where we'd beat them at home and then they beat us when we go down there. And harping back to what we were saying about last season, we were close against them in that home game, and we just didn't have the offense to function to keep up with them. And whilst we might not again this year, I think we're probably a little bit better. And I'd like to think that if we can shut down Hill and Waddle, yes, they've got a good backfield, but if we can shut down that receiver group on the outside, I can see us keeping this game close and potentially winning it. Because I don't think their defense is that good. I think they've got some pieces on there, but I don't think overall it's that good. You look at the players they've lost. For me, I think we can score points on them. So I'm gonna have a win here.
You have a win. Oh, okay. Interesting. JD, what about you?
I actually disagree a little bit with Kieran here. I think their defense scares me. I think the signings they've made in the secondary terrify me. When you're thinking like Kendall Fuller, Jordan Poyer, add that to Javon Holland and Jalen Ramsey, and then especially if like Chubb and Jalen Phillips are healthy for the start of the season, that scares me a little bit. But I think the primary concern for me going up against these guys, especially in the warmer weather earlier in the season, is just, they have essentially a 4x100 team at the skill positions. You think about most A-Chain, they drafted Jalen Wright, Jeff Wilson's fast, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They've got Anthony Schwartz as well. I think they signed him, didn't they, this offseason? So they're just so fast. And when you look at the middle of our defense with like Tavai and Bentley and Uche and stuff, that's not with their zone blocking scheme. I just don't know how we can compete with their speed. That's what terrifies me with their kind of the middle of our defense. I just think they're probably going to be a bit too fast for us. So I have us down for a loss.
You have us down for your loss. Okay, fair enough. 3, 4. Okay, so this is a really, really tough one for me, because I always kind of say we usually get the best of them at home, but then when we go to their place, we completely fall apart. I'm actually going to stick my neck on the line here, and I think we will pinch one against the Dolphins, and if it is, it will be at home. So you can call me the optimistic one, because I've got us after 5 weeks going 3 and 2.
Wow.
So yeah, right. Week 6 again. Another home game. This time, we face the new hotshots, Houston Texans. We're losing this game, in my own personal opinion, because what they've got brewing on that offense is very, very scary. CJ Stroud completely blowing down the narrative that Ohio State quarterbacks don't work in the NFL. And yes, they do if you go to the right place. And their abundance of weapons that they have got. They re-signed Dalton Schultz at tight end, really, really good. They did address the running back position, not like I thought they would do in the draft. I'm not sure who they took, but they didn't take the one I thought they would get, which is Blake Corum. He would have been perfect for them.
They traded for Joe Mixon, didn't they?
Oh, they got Joe Mixon. That's to be fair, yeah, that's dangerous. So JD, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I struggle. I think this is another one similar to kind of the Bengals and the Jets and the Niners, where I just think if you look at the roster on paper, it's just hard to make an argument for where we outmatch them. A really weird thing I noticed looking at their sort of depth chart, they have, I think, 1, 2, 3 top 10 picks at corner. Which is really strange. Derek Stingley Jr., Jeff Okudah, and CJ Henderson. Now, the second and third guys there didn't necessarily work out, but it's just strange to see a team with 3 top 10 draft picks at the same position on the roster. But yeah, if CJ Stroud doesn't take some kind of sophomore slump and hopefully Diggs maybe just goes in there as in one massive between Diggs, Mixon, and anybody else that can go in there and try and make a locker room cancer kind of vibe. Maybe that is their downfall, but I just think they've got too much talent. Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs. Hard to make an argument. There's probably a better trio of starting receivers in the league, really. And if CJ Stroud can stay where he is, then yeah.
Also, been hearing whispers that they might sign Xavier Howard as a free agent as well, which obviously would then have another great player in the secondary. For me, Houston, I think Houston could make the Super Bowl this year. I certainly think they'll be in the AFC Championship. Whether they can overcome Kansas City, I don't know. But I certainly think they're going to be there or thereabouts. So this is a 100% a loss for me.
Well, I think that highlights the brutality of the first 6 weeks of our schedule. You could make an argument for the Bengals, the Niners, the Texans, maybe even the Jets for being Super Bowl contenders, and we've got to face them all in the first 6 weeks. I think that really emphasizes the point that this is a rough schedule.
There was another point as well. Everyone's looking at these first 6 fixtures and going, "Oh my God, these are horrendous," and to a certain extent they are. But I feel for Christian Gonzalez because he's under immense pressure early on here. You look at the run of receivers: Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson, Brandon Ayuk, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs. I mean,
yeah, and if he shuts a young
corner coming off an injury.
But if he shuts them all down, guess what? He gets comeback player of the year and defensive player of the year.
If he shuts all of them down, he's a first team All Pro.
And we haven't had that in and we haven't had that in donkey's years.
Anyone who thinks that the Jets are Super Bowl contenders can go and jump. They are not. They are. Whoever is smoking, whatever they are smoking, is as high as anything. The Jets are not Super Bowl contenders. Not a chance. Simple as.
Okay, Kieran.
Where would you have them in terms of AFC ranking? Because for me, I'd probably put them like 4th, 5th at best.
Across the whole of the AFC?
Yeah. I could make a case for 4 teams being better than them.
They're a wild card team at best.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sort of somewhere between 7 and 12, I would think.
Wow. Okay.
They might make the last wild card spot, but that's pushing it.
They are one of those franchises that, despite the hype and the talent, there's just something rooted deep inside them that something was bound to happen and they'll mess up. The Raiders are like that. The Browns are like that. No matter what happens, they'll find a way to mess it up. whether that's injuries or they just shoot themselves in the foot. Jet's going to jet at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
Mm.
Florham
Okay,
Park's
Kieran,
built
what's-
on like an ancient burial ground or something like that, just to kind of that's the curse.
Okay, Kez, what's your prediction against Houston?
oh yes, there's a loss. Yeah, we're not winning this game. We're overmatched.
Loss.
You got a loss. Okay, so after 6 weeks, so about 1/3 of the season gone, I'm sitting at 3-3, being optimistic. Nick's at 2-4, Kieran's at 2-4, DJ is also on 2-4, and JD is being the pessimistic leprechaun replacing Luke at the minute with a 1-5. There's a good chance we're going to be starting Drake May in London, which is the game we are moving to next. It is the Wembley game, October 20th. We will all be there. We will be there, guys. It's New England never lost on UK soil. They've never lost. But we are going up against London's de facto NFL team. Do we have an opportunity of winning this game? Because the Jags, I kind of look at the AFC South right now. I look at Houston, I think are going to win it. Colts, I think they're not going to be not far behind them because I think they can. They've got Anthony Richardson returning. They've still got some good pieces. The Jags, I always think they're like the nearly team, and they're just always nearly there, but can't quite get there. Kieran, we'll start with you. The Wembley game against the Jags.
Yeah.
Do you give us a good opportunity? Do you give us a chance or not?
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like this is a great opportunity for us to get a win. Yes, the Jags are the de facto London team, but we have a big fan base over here and in Europe. So I would expect the swing of the fan base to be a lot more towards us than it probably would have been against anyone else. When they play up against other people here, and they obviously have the neutral fans behind them. But I feel like we'll have a decent crowd here, and I think that will help. I think you're right. Jacksonville do seem like a bit of a nearly team. Like they've got good players on their roster, but they never wow you, do they? They kind of flatter to deceive a little bit, and I think we can absolutely win this game. And I'm going to put my neck on the line here and say this is going to be Drake May's debut. I can see it happening in this game. You look at the first set of fixtures. I've predicted 2-4. Johnny's gone 1-5. We're all kind of in a similar range. But if we do start the season 1-5, there's going to be a huge clamoring for him. If Jacoby Brissett is not playing well, there's going to be pressure on Mayo and Alex Van Pelt and the franchise as a whole to play the number 3 overall pick. And I feel like this would be a good game to introduce him because you kind of away from the pressure of playing at Gillette for the first time. You're not throwing him to the walls at like a big away game. So I feel like this could be the perfect opportunity for Drake May to go out there. And I can see us winning this game 100%.
Wow. Okay. Nick, what about you?
I've got us winning this game. I think we're gonna smash them. I think it will be. I think it'll be a wonderful game to be at, and having watched that drab in Germany last year, I'm really hoping to sort of see something a little bit better. So I think not only will the Patriots win, they will win by more than one score. I think we will turn up, smash them, and go home again. Job done.
Okay, JD.
Occasionally, Trevor Lawrence has these games where he looks like a complete and utter melt, and I can see this being one of those games. Like I can see us picking him off 3 times in this game, sacking him 4 or 5 times, and he just has an absolute implosion because he is prone to those games every now and then. So that's my prediction. We're going to dominate defensively, and I agree with Nick. I do think we'll win by more than one score as well.
Okay, JD.
I'm in the same boat. I have this down as 2-5, baby. I think
Yay.
similar. I'm not a complete pessimist. I think Kieran kind of hit a lot of what I was going to say. I think this is where potentially we might start to see Drake May, or I think maybe after this week, because I think this is around the time where if we do start as bleakly as myself and Kieran kind of predict, I think they'll be clambering for Drake May. I think, like you say, I think this is the best game on paper so far that we have the players to match up with the opposition. Jacksonville cacked their pants a little bit at the back end of last season, and they lost 5 of the last 6, something like that, didn't they? And when you look at their roster, I just don't, outside the receiver position, which they've just signed like every vertical receiver they can possibly find, they all kind of seem quite redundant when you look at their depth chart. I mean, you think about like Christian Kirk is known as kind of a vertical slot, Gabe Davis, Devin Duvernay, Brian Thomas Jr., Evan Ingram is a vertical tight end. Everybody's just going deep in their offense, which I've already said before. I think plays quite well into our hands. And actually, just to build on what DJ's saying in the chat, something's got to give, because I've seen the Patriots 3 times and they've won every time. So while DJ's had the misfortune of never seeing them win, I've had the fortune of never seeing them lose. So something has to give here in this game if we're both going to be there. So who knows?
So if you and DJ do turn up at the Wembley game, so it's going to be like it's going to be like what Buffer said in the Fury music fight, wasn't it? Someone's has got to go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, yeah, right. We've all got W's on that one. So Jesus, I've got a winning record. I've got 4-3. Jesus Christ. Okay, we fly back home. We got a home game, and we have to face the Jets for a second time. It is the home game. You got the win there. Okay.
I'm on a run.
Kieran?
Yeah, why not? Give us the dub at home to the Jets.
Okay.
Drake May's come in London. He's thrown 3 touchdown passes. The
He's what? Oh, rude.
And we are rolling after the game.
What's all this point scoring? What's going
And he's going to slice and dice the Jets in this game. So yeah, no, I think once again it'll be close. I'm going to say that we beat them at home though.
Okay, JD.
I'm sorry, I still have this down as a loss. I just think the Jets have too much talent. I'm definitely with sort of Kieran on the mod that the kind of having the Jets higher in where I see their roster at the minute. I just their defensive line against our O-line terrifies me. It really does. I just don't see how we match up with. Sorry.
You can sit in the sim bin for a minute for they're doing that. Days. Get out of there, right? He's got the loss there. What has DJ put? Has he put a loss there? No, he's got a win. He's got his head screwed on. Yes, I am going to go for a win over the Jets because they always come to Foxborough to get their biannual teabagging at the hands of us anyway. Okay, so
I love that. That is a fantastic description. Like, biannual teabagging is fantastic.
There will be a punishment for you, JD, if we end up beating the Jets in one and either home or away. There will be a punishment for you. So,
hey, believe me, I want them to beat the Jets as much as you guys. I don't losing to anybody, especially the Jets. But I'm trying to go with the head over the heart here, unfortunately. And plus, I've got to fill the role of pessimist, you know.
Okay. Right, Tennessee. So the next game is on the road to the Tennessee Titans. In a state of flux they are, but what they did in free agency was absolutely ridiculous. Now they've got I forgot who they're freaking got now. Someone help me.
Calvin Ridley.
Thank you.
Boyd.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley.
And they got the Jarius Sneed as well. And
the Jarius Sneed as well. Yeah, this Titans team is going to be very, very interesting. Again, new coach. We don't know how he's going to turn out. This is another 50-50 game. We don't usually fare well in Tennessee. I can't remember the last time we won a game in Tennessee.
We're at home anyway.
Are we at home?
We're not in Tennessee.
No, we're not. No, not on the road.
Blues away.
Are we on the road?
Blues away.
Oh, go
Yes,
on
we're
then.
on the road.
Go on then.
Okay.
My apologies. I got us down
I'm
for a
gonna-
win anyway. Three
You
in a
go down
row.
for win. You go down for win. I'm going to say it's a loss. I'm going to say it's a loss. Not by much, though. Not by much. JD?
I was down for a win here. I don't believe in Will Levis, and they have just a really old receiving core. I think they've added some stuff on D, and their line looks good, but there's a lot of let's wait and see. Like Tavondre Sweat, I don't necessarily trust he's going to pan out particularly quickly. Harold Landry's meh. Jeffrey Simmons is great, but their linebacking core makes me feel a bit ill, to be honest, looking at their depth chart. It's not very good.
Kieran?
If we don't win this game, I'll be really disappointed. Just put it that way. I think the Titans are one of the most boring, soul-destroying teams in the NFL. I watched them at Tottenham last year, and they bored me to tears. Like they were just now. Obviously, Derrick Henry's gone. Like Johnny said, 3 older receivers. Yes, we would have liked Calvin Ridley, but like 3 older receivers in that room, a quarterback who you don't really know what you've got with him. Half of their offensive line is fine. The other half is horrendous. And defensively, they've got a couple of nice pieces like Snead and Simmons and whatnot. But other than that, I think the Tennessee Titans are one of the worst teams in the league. And if we do not win this game, I will be raging. So this is a 3. I'm going to predict us to have a 3-game win streak here. And I think we will win this game.
Okay, so well, looks like I'm the only one that's gone for a loss. I mean, if I
There's
did go for
nothing
another
to fear
3,
with them. You said about the record in Tennessee, but they had Derrick Henry for so many years and we could never stop him. He's gone now. Yes, Pollard is a talented running back, but what is there to fear with this team? Absolutely nothing.
And don't sleep on one of my favorite names, their running back, Julius Chestnut, which I don't believe is a real person. That's not a real name.
Julius Chestnut. Okay,
That's some
so
kind of alias.
Okay, so we're halfway through the season. Okay, yeah, so we're halfway through the season. So as it currently stands, I have got Pat's 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 wins, 4 losses. Nick has got 5 wins, 4 losses. Kieran has got 3, 4, also 5 wins, 4 losses. DJ's got 1, 2, 3, 4 wins, 5 losses, and JD has got 3 wins, 5. 3 wins, 6 losses.
Yep.
JD's actually sounded like the real smart person here. We're the ones just trying to. We're the ones we're trying to pull on the heartstrings, thinking we can actually do this. Okay. So then we play the Dolphins. Oh no, not the Dolphins. Sorry. On another road game, the Bears. The Bears. Okay, facing this new rookie, Caleb Williams. Is he good? Or is he going to be, or are we looking at another Johnny Manziel? We don't know. I'm just probably going to say this out. It's at Soldier Field. The last time we played there, we stunk. We literally squeaked to win. I'm going to say that's a loss for us against the Bears. I think it'll be more closer than a lot of people want it will be. But yeah, DJ's gone for a win on that one. Nick?
Same as you. One score loss.
1 score loss. Okay, Kieran?
Yeah, I do think this will be the end of the 3-game win streak. I think we will lose this game, but I think it'll be relatively close. I just think we're just a little bit overmatched. Good defense at home and 3 very, very good receivers as well. Like we can't cover all 3 of them one-on-one. So I think they'll find a way to win this. So that's a loss for me.
Okay, JD?
Yeah, I've got a loss. I think just their skill position players are really good. And I think, while I don't think their defense on paper looks great, there's a lot of names on there that don't necessarily strike fear into your heart. And their secondary, despite having Jalen Johnson, is pretty decent. It's not great. So I think we may have the opportunity to move the ball, but I just don't know if we can keep up with their scoring. I think they'll probably be able to hit that kind of 20, 30 points much quicker than we will.
Okay. We go into, I'll probably say 3 really dodgy games as well. So we're back at home, but it's against the Los Angeles Rams. This is a 50-50 game for me because I could just see Pats don't lose to rookie. Stafford is their quarterback. Unless referred to the Bears. Oh no, I think DJ's referred to the Bears. It's true, but that was under Belichick. This is not Belichick we're facing, so home against the Rams. JD?
I think this is a tough one. This is one I really went backwards and forwards on because I just their roster is surprisingly talent depleted. Their top end players, your Cups, Nakua's, Matthew Stafford's are really good, but their offensive line is not great, and they've lost a lot of players on D. I mean, one of their big acquisitions was Tre'Davious White, but he's not been healthy for about 3 years now. But I think for me, I see us probably losing this game just because of their pass rush. They drafted well. Kobe Turner looked really good. Byron Young looked good last year as well. So I just don't necessarily know if we can. And then having stuff like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, I think it might be a case that I could see us winning this game definitely, but I think this is probably a loss.
Okay, Kieran.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Carl. I think it's 50-50. I could certainly make a case for us winning this game, but I do think we will lose, but by a small margin. I just think with what they've got and the way they're built, and with the play caller, I just feel like they've just got a little bit too much for us. So I'm going to say a narrow loss in this one.
Yeah, I think Sean McVay hides a lot of the warts on that team as well. I think they've got by the last couple of years with not a particularly talented team, with Sean McVay making them look better than they are.
Yeah. Nick?
I've got it down as a maybe. I mean, you're asking the Rams to come all the way across country and play at 1 o'clock Eastern. So that's 10 o'clock in the morning their time. They're not gonna adjust that quickly. So there is that possibility that slow start might get us an advantage, but I think it's a maybe for me. I really think it could be just a case of how both teams are playing at the time. So if I gun to my head, I would probably say a loss, but it wouldn't surprise me if we won the game.
This is really tough for me. I will put it down as a loss. I think it will be. I think that one could easily go to overtime.
I think
could easily go to
the
overtime.
other thing to consider is they will have played on the Monday night previous to that. They will have played the Monday night at home to the Dolphins. So they'll have played Dolphins on the Monday night. Then they've got to recover. Then they've got to fly across to the East Coast. So it's not by injuries, whatever. It's not a guarantee that they'll be in good form, but it's possibly something to just consider that might go our way. I don't know.
Ooh, that's made me think. And also, Aaron Donald's not there anymore. So that's huge. But we're all going to go for a loss on that one. We're then on the road to the Dolphins, November 24th. This will be our third straight loss for me because I've said we will beat them at home, but we usually lose to them on the road anyway. Kieran, would you?
Yeah,
it's a place we don't do well in.
No, it really isn't. So yeah, I have this down for a loss. I think, yeah, sadly a 3-game losing streak off the back of a predicted a 3-game win streak. But peaks and troughs, swings and roundabouts. Yeah, this is a loss for me.
Okay, sorry, Nick.
Loss against Miami, unfortunately. Yes.
Okay, JD.
Yeah, same. Bad things happen in Miami.
Yeah, bad things happen in Miami. That was straightforward. Okay, we're to the final stretch of games now. So we have a home game against the Colts. The last time we played the
Please.
Colts, well, was an absolute shit show.
Please let us win that game. Please let us win that game. We were terrible. We were absolutely terrible. And even with Matt Jones, we nearly won the game. I mean, if we cannot beat the Colts with a better team than we had last year, oh my good gosh. No, I've got to win, and I'll be really upset if we don't absolutely smash the bastards out the park.
Oh, okay, calm down. That's a you know, that's non-sportsman conduct penalty. Okay, so calm down. DJ's gone for a tie. I hope you're not pulling my ball sack here, DJ. Come on, are you going to say tie? Oh God. Okay, fine. Well, this is going to make my thumbnail for the Twitter account look very, very awkward. Kieran,
I think this game has the potential to be really interesting, actually, because if you get sort of towards the end of the season and you've got, you know, Drake May installed as the Patriots QB1 and Anthony Richardson turns out to be pretty decent, this could be quite a good game to watch. I was a Richardson fan going into the draft last year. Yes, he's raw and got a lot to work on, but if he develops, he's going to be frighteningly good. We didn't see much of him last year because of the injury, but I mean, the Colts have an all right roster, but I'm going to put us down for a win for this one. I think at home, I feel like we can overcome them. They're nothing to fear. I kind of think they're a bit of a sort of middle of the road team. So, but a lot will depend on how Richardson plays. I think if he's looking like the second coming of prime Cam Newton or Lamar Jackson, then we might be in trouble. But I think he's needs time.
JD.
I have this down as a win, purely because Anthony Richardson, as Kieran put very eloquently there, I think he has potential to be phenomenal. And the big concern for me with Richardson is he didn't finish a single game last year. He literally got injured in every game he played before being out for the season. So by the time we'll get into week 13, surely he's out for the season by that point, right? And if he's not, I think we might struggle in this game. But with it being at home, and I think Richardson's probably injured at some point, I see us taking the win here.
Okay, so then we have a bye week. In week 14, we have a bye week. Jesus,
getting ready for that Super Bowl run, you know?
Have you seen our stretch of the final 4 games? It's not pleasant. So we're on the road to Arizona, but we're in a bye week. There's a potential that we could actually fly out a lot earlier and set up camp somewhere. Don't know where you could set up a camp in Arizona. It's a desert. And then you
University.
go University of Arizona, yeah.
They'll be finished by then, won't they?
That I could see that being. I can see a win there. The reason why I can see a win there, it's I said we're on a bye week, would have relaxed, but if you fly out early enough, get accustomed to the time difference, that might fall in our favor a little bit. I am going to stick a W on there.
Yeah, I'm going to join you. Oh, sorry. Go on, Johnny.
No, I'm also going to join you because Arizona's roster is just grim, and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride might be just about the only sort of shining stars on that roster, really. To be honest, there's nobody. And Buda Baker. Other than that, I think their roster's really poor, and I don't really rate Kyler Murray, to be honest. So I think that's a win.
Okay. Well, DJ's put loss because he just said Patriots stat, we never win after a bye, which is true. But now it's post-Belichick.
This should be a win. That's the thing. You've got to look at this fixture as this should be a win. Like, as Johnny said, there's a talent-poor roster that's in the middle of a rebuild. Yes, they've got some nice young pieces on the team, but we are a better team than Arizona. You've got to look at this. If you don't win this game, then something's gone massively wrong.
I think it's like the Jags and Titans game earlier where we spoke about these. There's only a few games I think on the schedule where we have comparable or better talent than the team we're playing, and I think this is one of them. So we should win this. Plus, one of my best friends, Matt, he lives in Australia now, so if he's watching, hey Matt, he's a Cardinals fan, so I just need us to win.
Okay, Nick.
Full house win.
DJ's gone for a win as well. Okay. How? Right. We've got to face Buffalo two of the last 3 games. Who fucking put this bloody fixture list together? Okay, so we're on the road to Buffalo. Are we all going for a straightforward loss?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree with you, Carl. Like, why, when you've got a 17-game schedule, we have to play them twice in 3 weeks? Like, what is the point? Like, spread it out a little bit. Like, it just seems like the NFL are intent on making us want to watch another game where we're gonna have a QB throw 3 times in the game. We're gonna have a snow game. Like, yeah. What's the point in playing them twice in the space of 3 weeks?
Yeah.
It's not interesting.
So we'll go for a loss there. Okay, then we have, but our last 2 games are at home, so we don't have to go anywhere. Chargers facing Jim Harbaugh. But the Chargers don't do that well in the cold. DJ's already put down as a loss. Nick?
I've got it down as a loss, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a win.
Okay. Kieran?
This is a win for me. I know it's a new look Chargers under Harbaugh, who will have them playing tough, and they'll be a lot tougher in the cold weather. They'll run the ball. They'll try and play good defense, but we've always had them by the short and curlies when they come to us. I know obviously last year was a little bit of an anomaly, but that was stupid. What was it? 6-0 it finished in. Was that the final result in the end? Like, that game isn't going to happen all the time. Like, it was stupid. Like, Justin Herbert has really struggled against us in his career. I remember the game where we went there with Mac Jones and absolutely blew the doors off them. I think we'll win this game.
So Kieran's got down to win. JD?
I think I have this one as a loss. I think just late in the season, I think the Chargers potentially have something to play for when I don't think we do. I think for me, one of the things that I would think about the Chargers, where we could potentially get a win, is I think their offensive line is really good, but I think their receiving core is one of the worst in the league. You're looking at Quentin Johnson, Josh Palmer, Lad McConkey, DJ Chark. Like, I just don't see. Yeah, I don't see where that team kind of gets a lot of points, but I think there's a better chance they're in contention than we are, and I just don't see us winning that game, I think.
Okay, so it looks like only Kieran's gone for the loss against the Chargers there. I've gone down for a loss as well. I just think Jim Harbaugh is going to be an absolute nightmare.
I've got us for a loss
as a coach.
I've got a loss as well.
Yeah. Last game of the season.
I'm the only one predicting a win.
Yeah, you're predicting the win there. Okay, fair enough.
I just think they've been talent depleted. I think they're worse now. They've lost so many players. Like you said, no real proven receiving core. They're worse at running back than what they were last year. Yes, the O line's improved, but they've still got massive holes defensively. Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa they're both into their 30s now. I don't, and Derwin James can't stay healthy either. So there's nothing on that Chargers team to fear other than the fact they should be a lot tougher to beat under Harbaugh in terms of a play style. But I don't think they're going to be in postseason consideration. Not for me.
Okay, fair enough. My last game at home, it's a Buffalo. That could be a game that we could actually piss off Buffalo and they don't win the division. Or it could be a dead rubber.
I was going to say, if they've already won the division, then they'll be resting their first teamers. That could well be a win, especially if they've won the division and they haven't got the best record in the conference, and so they don't get that bye. Then they could be resting their starters. So that is quite possibly a maybe game. I think it all depends on how Buffalo are doing at the time. I am more confident in the Buffalo game at home than I am away. I've got it down as a maybe. So I think I'm going to be more hopeful and say a win. because I'm assuming they're going to have won the division already.
So you're going for a W. Okay, Kieran?
Yeah, I can see what Nick is saying. I think it could be circumstantial, depending on what situation there is in that week. But I actually think the division will go down to the last game, and they'll have something to play for. So I'm going to say we will lose this one.
Okay, JD?
Yeah, I have a loss as well. I think they will have something probably to play for. As I said before, sacrilegious, but I think the Jets will be a relatively good team this year if they can stay healthy. I think there'll be a competition there. I don't think Buffalo will be pushing for the number 1-2 seed in the conference, but I think there'll be kind of the opportunity to kind of get some kind of home field advantage for them later in the season. So I think they'll probably take the opportunity. And again, I just don't think we have the roster necessarily to compete with them.
Okay, right. So that's that then. So let me just tally it all up. So we'll start off with DJ. I think he said he's going 6-1-11. He's gone with because he put a tie in there. So you have to make it awkward for me. JD, right? Let's have a look at yours then. So because you was the pessimistic one of the lot. So
He's got too many games.
2, 3. You've gone for a 5-12 season. Yep. That's what you've gone for.
DJ's got us playing 18 games. 11 plus 1 plus 6 is 18. We've got a bye week in there.
So
as well.
I mean so he means 6 and 10 basically.
Right. Okay.
He means 6 and it's 6, 1 and 10 then.
Right. Okay.
Right, Kieran. So Kieran's ones. Yours was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. You got us down as 8 wins. 8 and 9.
Yeah. Now going into this, if it, like I just said, like looking at the schedule, I have us roughly around 6 and 11. Like based on that, if you had to ask me any time before this, I'd have said roughly around 6 and 11. So I'm quite surprised in myself that I managed to predict us to go 8 and 9. So maybe the 6 and 11 to 8 and 9 range is kind of where I see us finishing. A lot depends on Drake May for me.
Yeah. So Nick's also gone 8 and 9. And I've gone for.
I'm favouring more 7 and 10, to be honest.
And I've gone for mine's more 7 and 10, but that's what you've picked. So you've gone 8 and 9. Kieran's gone 8 and 9. I've gone 7 and 10. And then so all around about similar there in the ballpark there. But remember, this is very, very, very early days yet. So this is only a rough prediction of what will happen. But yeah, the schedule looks absolutely brutal to say the least. So.
I think if we finish on the higher end of what we've all predicted, we'd be really happy. But if we finish with 6 wins, like, would we all be happy with that? Like, for me, I feel like that, like I said to you guys in the green room before we went on air, like 6 wins and potential shown from Drake May is a massive win-win for me.
I just want to see this offense have a pulse.
Yeah.
Because we didn't see it last year. If this offense has a pulse, we'll be infinitely better.
Yeah, so, I don't think I necessarily care too much. We're not in Super Bowl contention. I don't think we're even in playoff contention. I think for me, I'm not that. I want to win, obviously, but I'm not too focused on results this year. For me, it's more of a stepping stone of what's the culture of the team? How are we playing? Are we like last year, like we've alluded to already, it was hopeless. You were going into games on a Sunday thinking we don't look like a professional team. And I think just looking competent and competitive, like to not go and just get railroaded by teams every week, I think is something that's more what I care about.
Yeah. Okay, so put your comments down in the section below. What record do you think New England are going to have this season? Obviously, this is early preseason, so and then we'll go back to it literally a week before the season starts. We'll see where this team is, who's going to be potentially starting, and we will just have a recap to find out if we're going to make the same. If we've got the same outcome or we change it. Okay, let's move into. So we are running a little bit out of time, but we're going to go over OTAs because obviously the OTAs have been going on for the last couple of days now. So the notes I've been given on the offensive side of the ball, quarterbacks focus mainly on footwork and accuracy. Reps typically went in the order of Jacoby Brissett, Bailey Zappi, Drake May, and then Joe Milton. The starting offensive line group was as follows: left tackle Chukwuemeka Okorafor, Left guard, Sidney So. Centre, David Andrews. Right guard, Nick Leverett. And right tackle, Mike Onwenu. Apparently, Vidarian Lowe and Caden Wallace, they took reps at left tackle. Quarterback reps during the 11 on 11s were split by Brissett, who had 8. Zappi had 4, and May had 3. Brissett went 4 of 4. Zappi went 1 of 1. May went 2 of 3. QB reps during the 7 on 7s were split by Brissett. He had 8. Zappi had 4. May had 4, and Milton had 4. Brissett 4 of 8. So only 50% completion. Zappi 2 of 4, 50% completion. Drake May and Joe Milton completed 4-4. Receivers struggled to get open during competitive drills despite there being no contact. Oh, where have we heard this before, Nick? Where have we heard this? But last year and the year before that and the year before that.
The year before that.
yeah. Rookie wide receivers Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. They took reps with only the rookie QBs during the 7 on 7 drills. Running back, new acquisition of running back Antonio Gibson looked good and his speed was noticeable. So the yin to Stevenson's yang, shall we say. Offensive line Cole Strange, offensive tackle Zuri Henry, and wide receiver Kendrick Bourne. They were absent. Obviously, Cole Strange has got a serious knee injury, and apparently he's not going to be ready until midway through the season, which the fan base is. I don't like seeing players get cheered when they're injured, but it seems like the fan base is more of a sort of a case of they're cheering because they knew this pick was a horrendous one when he got taken 2 years ago. On the defensive side of the ball, safety Kyle Duggar bodied Austin Hooper up nicely on a seam route and had a nice pass breakup on a jump ball throw delivered by Brissett. Quarterback Christian Gonzalez took part in 7 on 7 reps and looked like his usual self. So that's promising stuff. The defense as a whole functioned better than the offense, but that is to be expected. Dante Hightower participated in conditioning drills with some of the players post-practice. He didn't look out of place. Not surprised. And obviously a few absentees. Offensive linebacker Matthew Judon, Anthony Jennings, Josh Uche, Jalini Tavai, and defensive tackle Davin Godshoe. They were absent. So that was the notes that I've been given. A lot to talk. There's a fair bit in there. JD, will start with you. The quarterback reps. Obviously, it's non-padded, so there's no pressure on them whatsoever. This is a case of all we kept on seeing with video footage was Drake May and his footwork. I thought I was watching a few of the videos, and it seems like his footwork was actually quite neat, to be honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff this time of year is massively overblown, and reacting to a lot of this stuff is kind of futile, really. But I think what you saw for me, what in that footage, was everything was quite slow and deliberate, and I think that's sensible to me. With someone like Drake May, who's very young, footwork was one of the primary concerns coming out. I think what they've done is intentionally having him slow down and be mechanically sound, rather than at his regular pace and mechanically unsound, which I think is a sensible thing to do. I think, I know you guys were kind of reading Gerard Mayo's comments, talking about having 4 quarterbacks, that by the time it comes to the season, that will probably be down to 3. You have to obviously think Jacoby Brissett and Drake May are a lock. And that, for me, I do wonder whether the only route I kind of see is you put Joe Milton on the practice squad, but I could see somebody pinching him from the practice squad if you do that, or Bailey Zappi doesn't have a future here, which for me, if that's the case, I don't want him getting reps above Drake May right now. For me, this should be about preparing Jacoby Brissett to start week 1 and developing Drake May and getting him as many reps as humanly possible right now. So I would like to see Bailey Zappi knock down the pecking order where he's getting as minimal reps as possible for me.
Hasn't the rule been changed over? Go on, Nick.
Just on that, I was going to say, Gerard Mayo did an interview, and what he said was that at the end of this first lot of OTAs, the theory is that every quarterback should have had around the same number of reps. So he said one day you might find that one QB has a lot more than another one, but then on another day, that QB will get more than that guy. So he said by the time the OTA finishes, everyone should be about level. Now, what Gerard Mayo said regarding Bailey Zappi taking the second team reps these last couple of days was that he wanted Drake May and Joe Milton to just stand and watch those that had experience in the system and those that had experience at the level, the NFL level. He wanted, so that was obviously Brissett and Zappi, and he just wanted May and Milton to just watch and do a little bit here and a little bit there. Like you said, slow it down, concentrate on. So I think I get what you're saying, JD, and I think you'll see the reps will start picking up for Milton and May, and the reps will start coming down for Bailey Zappi. I don't think Bailey Zappi will make it. I think he will get cut, and I think you'll find that it's three QBs on the roster. Whether they might keep Zappi on the practice squad as a fourth QB, but I think they will have 3 on the active roster. So,
I completely agree.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting how May said that, because he didn't hide it he didn't hide from the question either. He just said, look, I'm going to make sure that all the QBs come out of this OTA having had the same amount of reps, or I'm going to try. So I was like, right, fine, fair enough. So it's almost as if like day one was the experienced players get going and the newbies just watch. Because apparently that was the same for the wide receivers. Polk spent a lot of time watching Butte and Tyquan Thornton. So, it seems to be that was Mayo's approach on sort of day one and day two, that the new guys sat or stood and watched and sort of did a little bit, but they were mainly there to learn.
Talking of the receivers, we do need to find it because there's 11 receivers on our roster currently. Now, I know the maximum number you can only take on to the main roster for the season is 6. So we need to find out who it is that's going to be who's going to be taken. So the receivers in question, you've got Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jalen Reagor, Jalen Polk, KJ Osborne, TJ Luther, Pop Douglas, Keyshawn Butte, Kawan Baker, Javon Baker. We've got 2 Bakers and Kendrick Bourne. So if we're going to choose a roster, we need 6. Who are you taking? Kieran, we'll start with you.
Well, first things first, I think that Jalen Polk, Pop Douglas, Javon Baker, and Kendrick Bourne are 4 locks. I think they're your 4 locks. Like, they're going to make the roster. So then it's a case of what do you do with the others? Who are your other 2 going to be? Now, if you want one of those to be a special teams player, someone who's going to return kicks for you, then you've got to consider Jalen Reagor, who played quite well as a returner for us last year, but he's probably not going to offer much in terms of a pass catcher. You might get 5 deep shots to him in one season, but it depends how much they're prioritizing that in terms of a special teamer as a receiver. If that is a priority, you add him to your roster. If it's not, and you want, say, Marcus Jones to return your punts and your kickoffs, then you pivot elsewhere. I feel like I like KJ Osborne, but he's looking at your wide receiver 5. If it were me, I would probably go with Osborne and then one of between Keyshawn Butte and Jalen Reagor, just because I'm still a strong believer that Butte has the talent. I still think there is a diamond in the rough there, and I feel like he would not make it to the practice squad. I think he'd get swiped by someone else, and I think just for the protection, I would keep him. I know there's been a lot of talk about Juju saying that he was 60% last year. Now he feels 100%. But I still, even though there's a part of him that he has been successful in the league before and looked good in other places, the knee just worries me too much. He could genuinely just collapse at any point. So I would not take the risk on that. So I would go with Osborne and then one of Reagor or Butte.
You're also forgetting as well that Marcus Jones is also back as well.
And he could also do kickoff.
That's what I said about.
Kickoff
It depends who. If Marcus Jones is your returner, then you don't need Jalen Reagor on your roster. But if you do want Reagor as your returner, you've got to make a space for him somewhere. So that's the argument with him. But if he doesn't, then you look at someone else. But I can't see Tyquan Thornton making it, and I'd rather want on the upside of Booty than someone like that.
I agree with the 4 locks that you said there. So we know Pop Douglas will be in there. We know Kendrick Bourne will be in there. You got your 2 new rookies, Polk and Javon Baker. They're going to be in there as well. I will throw KJ Osborne in there, though, because if you watch KJ Osborne in Minnesota, yes, he was the 3rd string receiver, but he did a lot of dirty work in the trenches. He is a blocking. He's a solid. He does block well for the line. So that's the 5th receiver you take. And then you got your 6th. And for me, it is either going to be Juju or it's going to be Kayshon Boutte. Tyquan Thornton, we've had him for too many years now. I've seen nothing. It's nice to see on his Instagram now, but he's all jacked up and so on. Yeah, great. Can you run routes? You know, that's the problem with you. Unless Jerome is just going to use him as a straight up vertical threat, which is basically what he was designed for when he was at Baylor. Was it not at Baylor? It was at Oregon, for crying out loud.
And he's the natural speedster of the group, obviously, but he's a vertical receiver that banks on his speed. But we've just drafted 2 receivers who primarily work as vertical receivers that are good at going down the field in contested catch situations. So do you really need Tyquan Thornton when you've got Javon Baker and Jalen Polk? Although they're a lot slower, although they're slower than Thornton, they're better players for me. So, for me, I think Thornton's a long shot to make the roster.
Yeah, so for me, it's either going to be Boutte or Juju Smith-Schuster that takes a 6th spot. And if I had to probably take a wild guess, it probably will be Juju.
Just on Juju, though, like you say, like obviously as your wide receiver 6, I mean, they're not going to categorize who's, certainly we know who's going to be 1 through to 6. But if you're Juju, a guy that's with the career he's had so far, are you going to be happy to be buried on the depth chart like that? You're not. So I can't see him wanting to stay if that's the point. And I can just see him getting traded for a late pick swap and going elsewhere and being
I wouldn't have an issue with that. I wouldn't have an issue with that.
I just can't
see him in a casualty. I could see him being kind of an early camp cut where I think it depends on, like, I know we spoke that he was 60% healthy last year and he's 100% healthy this year. But I just think if he's anything close to what he was last year, I think he's probably gone quite early with the numbers that we have, and we give him an opportunity to go somewhere else and compete. Because for me, I agree with kind of what's been said so far. I think Kendrick Bourne, Javon Baker, Polk, and Pop Douglas are all locks. I think the money we gave KJ Osborne and the experience he has, I also think there's a good chance he takes that 5th spot. I think Kieran makes a really good point about the special teams edition of Jalen Reagor. I don't know if I want to, and know as much as Bill just loved special teams, I don't know if we're in a position offensively where we can prioritize special teams over actual offensive production. So I would rather, because I think Jalen Reagor and Juju, where's the ceiling? Like for me with that, I know Tyquan hasn't produced a ton the past couple of years, but the offense has been putrid. I would rather take a shot on Tyquan Thornton and stick him at that X spot. And I think he fits Van Pelt's scheme quite nicely. We just let him run what he did at Baylor. He just runs slants, he just runs goes, and he just runs posts, and that's it. He run the odd hitch, and that'll be it. And just see if he can produce something in that capacity. So I would rather take a chance on him at the 6th spot than I think Juju or Reagor, just because I think there's more potential for upside there than there are the other two.
Nick?
Polk, Osborne, Douglas, Baker, Bourne, and then for me, I think I'd probably have Boutte. So that'd be my 6.
That all depends on his violations as well. For Kayshon Boutte as well.
That's true. Yeah.
We don't know what the situation on his violations is. When we get any news up on that, we'll let you know via just a quick upload to the channel. So
it just for me, if you release Kayshon Boutte, I think he's getting snapped up straight away. I don't think he'd ever make the practice squad. And if he did, I think someone's nabbing him off the practice squad during the season anyway. I think he could be one of those players where you could lose him from cutting him and he could go elsewhere and absolutely just ignite somewhere. And that's the thing for me, that there's a reason why he was regarded as a first-round talent for so long. And yes, he's had his health problems and his off-the-field problems, but the ability is still there. You saw that last year where he blazed the Packers in preseason. He was doghoused early on last year. He has the ability, and if he puts it together, he could be a real.
That week one, and I know it was. I know he was a rookie. It's your first game, and yes, it was literally the play that, in hindsight, could have got us a win against the Eagles. But the only way you're going to make sure you don't make that mistake again is if you continuously play the guy, or you give him a second chance. And if he does it again, then you stick him in the doghouse. But Belichick is like, no, one strike, that's it, you're out. I don't think Gerard Mayo is going to have that sort of temperament.
I think it'll be interesting to see kind of how he gets his off-field stuff in hand, because I guess mentioned before, I'm an LSU fan, and so his first 2 years at LSU, he was phenomenal. So he has the tape there where you think this guy could be something special. But I just, my concern with him, and again, I've mentioned it several times so far, that one of my concerns for this season is culture. That's what I want to see the Patriots really develop, is just a culture. And I know Juju had an offhand comment, I think, this week, didn't he, saying the vibes are so much better in the locker room. And I wonder if somebody like Kayshon Boutte, maybe you prior to Thornton's been out at Boston Celtics games. He's been seen with Polk and Baker and May quite a lot. So I wonder if that level of camaraderie might swing it in his favor as well.
Supposedly, Booty did make the play of OTAs this week with a diving catch down the sideline.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. The ability's there. It's just there's so many facets to it. It's going to be interesting to see who does stick around as that sixth receiver.
It's frustrating as well because they say he's got the ability. It's just whether his head's on right. It's frustrating.
Okay, right. Guys, we're going to get on out of it. It's been a fantastic show as always. A lot to talk. We've had a lot to talk about. The post for our predictions will be up on X in the next couple of days, so please keep an eye on that. Make sure you smash the like button on your way out. Hit the subscribe button while you're at it. Follow us on all our social media platforms and follow us on the Sports Social Network as well. My thanks to Nick, Kieran, and JD. We may be back next week, depending if there's any news. Maybe another recap on a little bit more of OTAs. But yeah, any breaking news we have, we'll send out a post to everyone. And yeah, take care, guys. I can safely say now we are officially now in the off season, so we will try and get on whenever we can for a show, maybe once every 2 weeks or so. And yeah, we may try and have some guests lined up during the off season to have their say on things. But thank you to everyone who's been watching. This has been the Patriots Touchback Podcast. Let's do this. Come on, Patriots. Let's go.